broadcast. It unfortunately couldn't be broadcast live because of rights issues with the BBC. Sponsors the same for yourselves this year?
Yeah, same sponsors. Aussie Man and Van are the main ones on the shirt, and the merchant in Battersea Rise is the watering hole after games usually.
So are you still playing your home games at in Clapham?
No, we train down in Clapham. Our home games are at Motspur Park, the old Blues rugby club at the moment. But I feel like we're here more than at home. Mostly I was at the stadium.
Certainly the last two games were settling in well. Hammersmith still training at Lily Park on a Tuesday and Thursday, and playing games at Chiswick Rugby Club. It's a rather scrappy start. Neither team really wanting the ball there. Leave it for our female referee to sort out.
Yeah, it's been pretty even so far. It seems just getting to know each other again after the winter.
No, absolutely. Nice to see Sam Broomhall, who played loose forward for us. He's not the largest man on the field by any stretch. Now plays today front row with Jared Warren, which is a little bit of an imbalance. Luckily, those scrums aren't contested. Otherwise, we may see some right angles. What Broomhall lacks in stature, he makes up in intensity and drive.
Number 13 for Chargers. He might not be the absolute biggest man, but he's definitely got the biggest mouth. Talk a glass eye to sleep.
It's a big hit by Warren, who still by far and away the biggest man on the Hammersmith Hills Hoist side. Lost some weight during the off-season in an attempt to sustain his output. It'll be interesting to see how he goes today. Far safer by Mr. Allen on that ball. Hopefully put to bed the ghost of the first. Eventually, when this game is broadcast, it's big shout out to a lot of the old boys who are watching either from Australia. I think there's some boys in Vancouver watching this for what will be a early start now rather than a late one for them. And indeed, certainly a few people watching in Azerbaijan. Old university friend of mine, Jim Todd. Don't know about your lot. Do you have any people who have found themselves in strange parts of the world?
For us, obviously, a lot of guys back in Australia. The big one, I guess, is Big Paul Hanley in Thailand. He hasn't left Collier's Wood for the last 11 years and found himself in Thailand from Widnes, so he's in the other side of the world.
I'm sure he's having a whale of a time.
He's probably complaining about his back or something.
Allen into the line and taken in by, I believe that is Hammersmith new boy, Sean Lynch. I think he's playing his first game of rugby league for 3 years, so hopefully getting rid of that rust.
That's Caleb taking it for us. Probably one of the biggest wingers I've seen in terms of muscle.
I see that your gigantic centre, the Polynesian guy's not playing today. Any difficulty there?
No, I don't know. Just not selected. I don't know if he's been down at training. Yeah, he's usually a stalwart in the team, but yeah, just not today. But I'm sure Chris and new boy Sam will do fine. Sam's from Sheffield, so another northern lad in the squad.
A fine rugby league. I wouldn't say heartland. It's more a developmental territory. To be perfectly honest, it's where I started my career at Sheffield University, so I know it well. Great break from BHAG. Slow play the ball out to Spur, back into Warren. And the ball goes loose. And the referee blows up for a penalty to Hammersmith Hills Hoists.
Do you reckon you'll go for two?
You'd like to think that we, at this stage of the game, try and run it a little, but who knows? Maybe settle sides down. More and more teams do that now, don't they? I think it's something that I'm sure fans aren't happy to see. If you watch Super League, lots of kind of taking two at the start of games, but no, I think Hammersmith choose to run off to Broomhall, who's gets taken high.
It might be a penalty for that one. Any higher he would have missed.
Now Jimmy Lonergan, nice to see him back. Missed our grand final last year as he was in India, I believe, expanding his horizons. Broomhall, second hit up in as many minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks to Justin giving us a little bit of a talk through the technology. Hammersmith down the short side. I think that's back to one.
Back to one.
This is interesting call in the sense that I'm not sure he played at it more than it hit him, but now lost ball and that, I was going to say, clearly on the wrong side of the ball when he tried to take it. Instinct took over.
A lot of pressure on at the minute.
Is this your first game of the year, Paul? You'd had any warm-up games before this?
We went up against London Broncos Academy side 2 weeks ago, I think, for a bit of a, try and blow the cobwebs out. Being like the under-19s there, them lads were pretty fit, so I think some of the older fellas in our squad felt that one. But yeah, I think that's the only one we've done. What about you guys? Have you?
First game, out to the wing, was Callaway, entering his 40th year, I think. A man who longevity owes a lot to his physical fitness and discipline. Yeah, first game for us, so it'd be, as I say, interesting to see how that goes. Martin still slippery.
That'll be another set.
A good repetition from Hammersmith. And Sean Lynch breaks a tackle.
I think Chargers might get a bit of a talking to if they carry on with the penalties. I think there's been about 4 or 5 so far.
Yeah, quite frenetic. Good stuff, James Lonergan. Not the largest loose forward in the world, but putting all of his weight behind that run. Out to Martin as Hammersmith try and go wide again. It's half break.
Half break.
Martin from dummy half. Go Linton Allen trying to dance his way through that line in his now 30th year, his birthday last week. Sean looking for space. Good defence by Chargers. Hopefully settle the ball down a little for them now.
I think they'll be happy with that. Keeping them out after that long, hopefully they'll just take it away.
No, absolutely. Hammersmith contrast. Probably unhappy that you can have so many sets of 6 and not come away with anything. Maybe they should have taken that 2 after all.
Well, is it Vincent, number 7? He doesn't miss many kicks, does he? He's a great kicker.
No, certainly not. But at the same time, never know whether I'm sure it would have been an easy kick for him, but in the spirit of rugby league, try and run a little more straight out by Chargers. Fortunately, not relieve the pressure to the extent that they would have wanted to. Still no interchange from either side, I don't think. As we enter, I think it's the 15th or 14th minute. Martin takes the ball himself. Vincent Spur got himself into a little bit of trouble when something that he said at the beginning of this season was, into Allen. Good move by Hoists. Still no dice with regards to any points. As I was saying, Vince Spur got himself into a little bit of trouble in an interview he gave to a rugby league website in which he was quoted as saying that London scholars don't do much in terms of, well, it was taken that he meant it in terms of rugby league. He actually meant in terms of the London comp and the way in which the reserve grade plays often sporadically throughout the year. I can assure everybody that we're obviously very happy to be hosted at New River Park, and are grateful for a much nicer playing service, I think, that either side could offer at this time of the year. BT takes a short ball. Good hit up by Nathan Mann, co-coach and captain of the Hammersmith Hills Hoists, I believe. Kick through from, kick through off the post from Spur. And I think knocked forward slightly by Hammersmith Hills Hoist. Once again, Chargers withstand the pressure.
I don't think they want to carry on defending for another 20 minutes, though. They need to get themselves on their hands on the ball for a bit.
Thank you very much.
Caleb taking Chaz away.
No. The difficulty, of course, and the worry would be for Hammersmith that if you carry on knocking on the door and not getting in, eventually you tire yourselves out, perhaps as much as the team that defends. But we'll see how Chargers settle themselves down. They've got their hands on the pill.
Caleb in for more work as well there.
High kick to test Allen again. And once again, trouble, but gathered by Lennon Bartlett. And what's she given there?
It's offside, I think. He's dropped it and then someone in front's picked it up.
So now, Chargers get the decision as to whether they want to settle for 2 points or whether they want to run the ball.
They've got him for 2 by the looks of it.
A conservative game plan, as opposed to the perhaps high-octane, wild stuff that hasn't paid off for Hammersmith so far.
I think maybe they're just looking to get a bit of a breather as well after 10 minutes of defence.
No, entirely right, entirely probably.
Todd, though, making the decision number 13. He's been doing the coaching so far this year. Yeah, he's making the decision. It looks like he's going to kick goal himself as well.
It's Todd Pute.
Todd Pute, yeah.
I noticed on the, certainly on your team that you put up on Facebook, there is both Mr. Pute and Chris Bevan are underlined. What does that signify?
I think that is this, the 13 and then the 17.
Aha, I get it.
I did look at that at first and I was like, yeah.
I was wondering whether you were denoting international players or something like that.
Yeah, I did have a good look at that. I was like, why would we do that? But
it makes perfect sense now.
yeah, Chris is playing in the centres.
They get the ball back.
Joe Briggs taking charges in. He's played internationally for Malta. As a fact.
Long-standing player, I think, for London Chargers. Is that right?
Yeah, he's every season since Chargers have been a club, and even before that, before the merger of South London. It looks like a little knock on there.
Hammersmith Hills Hoist again not making smart work of those kicks. Now concede a dropout underneath the posts.
JB Park with a little dummy. Good defense.
Held up, says the referee. Oh. Eventually good defence by Hammersmith, rather opened up for the half-back there.
It's a penalty to Hammersmith. I think there's some
crossing, perhaps.
Crossing, yeah.
And again, that wind. Wind up here doesn't feel like it's that strong. That's the second kick that we've either shanked or has blown back on us, not giving us much breathing room at all. No mystery there. Nathan Mann met with a solid Chargers tackle.
Nathan Mann's probably one of your longest serving at the moment.
Certainly.
I remember him from a good few years back. So.
No, certainly. Joined the club, I think it was 2010, possibly 2011. Such a long time ago that Nathan actually had hair then. He's since bitten the bullet and has gone the Craig Fitzgibbon.
I think he'll take Craig Fitzgibbon. You know?
No, Nathan's been here a long time and hopefully will stay with us for a long time more. Kicked through by Vince Spur, which bounces exactly where he'd want it to. Good set by Hammersmith in terms of field position again, still without points.
Eric Sims at hooker for Chargers. Oh, looks like a knock on.
Slightly ragdolled by his shirt, but forced the knock on, Jared Warren.
Here we've got Eric at hooker. He started at full back in the final last year. He's a very versatile player.
One of the Chargers players in the backfield needs a little help. Of course, following on after this game is London Scholars versus London Broncos in a friendly warm-up, which will be broadcast live by Bar TV Sports. Although by the time this is broadcast, there's probably no point me saying that, isn't there? Hopefully you enjoyed that game.
Plug this game in that.
No, quite. By the time this gets broadcast, Paul, I'll probably have been back at home in my slippers and an armchair, either celebrating or crying one way or the other. Glennon Bartlett with a hit up and tilted not quite over the horizontal, so entirely fair.
I think Shane's decided to make up for that knock on. A few big hits.
Spare out the backfield to Beattie. Unfortunately took it rather static. Not too much of a problem for Chargers defence. Down the short side, Hammersmith Hills Hoists. Not entirely sure what that call was in all honesty.
Possibly a forward pass, maybe.
One of the interesting things I think about today's weather, as I say, notwithstanding the fact that we've got a fine playing surface, is how everyone will deal with the cold. Not sure that many of Hammersmith Hills Hoists' Australian contingent will have played in temperatures quite like this before. Offload and Hammersmith go again. So forgive me, Chargers go again in what was a somewhat broken line.
Jeremy Park with a weaving run.
Good tackle by Martin, opposite number, helped by Jared Warren.
He's putting some minutes in for a big guy.
Yeah, as I say, I think it's down to his newfound fitness. I think he was telling me that I think he shed almost 10 kilograms, which to most other people would be an enormous amount, but percentage of big Jared's weight, not huge. But he's certainly looking trimmer, certainly fitter, and the fact that he's still on the field at this stage goes to show that it is indeed working.
Dave Thornton making the tackle there. Another new face for Chargers this year.
Dave Shute. Certainly there's been an exchange now. One of the standout players at the latter part of last season. Now on the field, wearing the 10 shirt, but didn't start. I think notwithstanding Jared's new slimline technique, the 20 shirt is still the only one that fits his gigantic frame. Vince Spur with the dab through, Allen chasing it a little too far. Hammersmith penalised for not getting back the 10. And that win certainly helping that kick through. Plainly the wind obviously a lot stronger than we're feeling, Paul.
It's a little gap for Todd.
Certainly looked.
Been held up. It's a great tackle.
That's again from up here. Looked like he grounded that ball.
They've done well to get under him there.
Yeah. I don't know whether it is the.
It's onto the other side and. This time Sam looks to...
And she gives it this time.
That's Sam on a new face from Sheffield, gets over for his, I think that might be his first try for Chargers.
Stuff once again, Chargers far more clinical when they get the chances, which have been fewer than Hammersmith have had. Hammersmith no doubt be kicking himself about that 2 points at the least. Chargers 6-0 up. Great kick.
Try for London Chargers, number 1, James Hicker, converted by number 13, Todd Pert.
I think Sam will be pretty annoyed that the announcer's got his name wrong. Well, unless my eyes are deceiving me.
try and drop the scoreline to London Chargers 8, Hammersmith Hills Hoists 0.
Russell Kellaway settling things down. Hammersmith need to get back up the other end of the field and get something out of this half, I'd say. It's been right to say they've been playing against the wind, but still. Broomhall with a good run, and he loses the ball forward. How are you doing with the cold, Paul?
I'm freezing, if I'm honest. I think if Chargers do get through, I might have to be playing next time. Keep warm.
Keep yourself warm. If you get the chance at half time, you can go and buy yourself some London Scholars mittens from the club shop. Needs must.
Yeah, I think if me from the north struggling, I imagine some of the Aussies out there on both sides are not enjoying any of it.
No. Again, Chargers pummel at the line of Hammersmith Hills Hoists. Line speed seems to have dropped a little in the last couple of minutes.
That'll be back to one.
Certainly back to one.
Oh, a very strong run from the winger Charles there. Well met by the defence.
Pressure on the ruck area. I think that's a try.
Todd Duke getting over, and he's happy about it.
It's 12-0, I believe. This is not the way that one would have guessed this half was going to go in the first 15 minutes. Still, well done to Chargers for converting the chances that they've had.
And try there for London Chargers, number 13, Tom Pert.
Todd will now forever be known as Todd Pert.
Is that 12-0 now? More? No, it's already 12.
That is 12, yeah.
Kick to come.
Kick to come.
It's going. A tea would be lovely, actually. Thanks very much. One of the perks of commentating for Bar TV Sports. I was going to send you to get beer at half time, Paul. Don't mind telling everybody. Maybe we could ask her.
Tea or coffee or a lager would go down quite nicely.
Pute with the kick, and again, slightly to the right. Hammersmith falling off tackles again. It's, large kick up in the air. It's been a problem for Hammersmith, but Allen, equal to that one, withstands the tackle that follows up. Interesting pirouette. Spur with the kick through, which held up in the wind. No trouble for the Chargers winger.
Joe Briggs. He's done well to get a pass away there, and it's back to Briggs.
Desperate defence by Hammersmith. Goes wide, there's a lot of space. Oh, the ball's tossed up. Could have compounded Hammersmith's misery in this half there.
Good offload from there.
Takes him on slightly on his own. Give us an opportunity now while we're midfield to talk about the Challenge Cup and how that it works. Challenge Cup is effectively the Premier Cup competition in rugby league, and it's effectively what the FA Cup was modelled on. Here we are in the first round with two sides from the London League, who Hammersmith, having won the final last year with Chargers as the runner-up, enter into a cup competition that in several rounds' time we'll see the giants of rugby league, such as St Helens, Wigan, Leeds, are all competing for the same final, which is played in the summer at Wembley Stadium. Standing up in this gantry, we feel quite a long way from there, but it's good to see two London sides for the first time competing against each other in this tournament.
Shane here struggling to play the ball as he's got his shirt wrapped around it.
Interesting play the ball.
I think we'll let him off with that one. You don't see that every day.
Rugby league, of course, in the UK, traditionally dominated by sides from between the East Lancs and Yorkshire corridor. I know that Loughborough students are playing against Bradford, or a Bradford side, at the same time that we're playing here. And that's the end of the half, a half that will be disappointed from Hammersmith's point of view.
And the the Chargers will be very happy with that, especially after the first 15 minutes. A lot of defence.
Hammersmith playing into the wind, but can't blame the wind, I don't think, for the way in which that half's turned out. Chargers certainly the more clinical of the two sides. Hammersmith will be hoping that the wind can keep up in the way that it's been, give them some pressure, but good half by Chargers, and we'll be back after half time to carry on with the competition. Well, back here, ladies and gentlemen, at New River Stadium for the second half. Hammersmith Hills Hoists chasing a 14-point deficit, playing with the wind now, which hopefully will help them. But the rain's coming down, which could only again upset some of these Antipodean boys who, if they're lucky, might even get snow. In terms of our season start date, do you know exactly when it is? It's probably about 2 months away, is it not?
From what I gather, it's back end of March, early April. Usually that kind of time.
So given that this is probably Hammersmith's biggest game ever, in the sense that we've never played in the Challenge Cup before, quite odd to have that at the start of the season in weather that you're not necessarily used to. But all credit to the boys for getting out there and cutting short their off-season. Dave Shute with a very, very good run.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an issue for both the teams, really. Like, it's the comp finishes back in August, was it? August. And you've got 5 months, and then you're back into it in such a big game.
Sam Broomhall, Hammersmith Player of the Year last year, taking that ball up, playing out of his comfort zone at loose forward, prop today. Winger obviously got the warning to leave that ball alone. In other fixtures at this juncture of the Challenge Cup, Saddleworth Rangers are about to kick off against Thatto Heath. Not sure how Loughborough went earlier on. Loughborough students, obviously England's premier sports college, they get an entry as well.
Shane Picker nearly going through.
Good start for the Chargers. Not content playing into this wind. Now looking for more points of their own. Penalty to the Hammersmith Hills Hoists. Vince Spur looking to put some length on this. Did carry, but perhaps not the way that he would have wanted it to. Still in the Hammersmith half. Russell Kellaway, as I say, entering his 40th year. Former St Albans Centurion, playing ball boy for the first of that. B-Hag with a hip off to man who gives the ball in turn to Lee Harrison. Himself not from the heartlands of rugby league, either in Australia or in the UK, from Coventry. Lost ball.
Coventry have a bit of a rugby league thing going on. There's a few England games there, and I know Dave O'Connor, one of our Chargers back rowers, I think he's played a few games down there at Coventry.
Coventry Bears, I believe, isn't it? It's the name of the side. I don't know whether they, well, I don't know whether that's the Oldham Bears relocated, but certainly Coventry have played at a certain level, though not anywhere like the height of our sport, which of course London Broncos certainly did for a short time before they were relegated.
Half break from Todd Pute there.
Of course, given that the season starts proper in about 3 months, anyone who feels like they fancy a run at rugby league should get in touch with either side and get themselves, both teams always on the lookout for new players. any experience range at all.
The Chargers definitely run a second team as well, and I know Hammersmith have the same. So, you know, all ranges.
Well fielded by Linton Allen. Good work there by Leon Siles, the winger, the head guard on the far side. Kick through the middle by Nathan Mann. It holds up, it'll be a decent kick, but the worry would be that it does that.
I think it's difficult for the kickers with such a wind. You know, you're kicking into it one half and then completely different the second half. Liam Duffy with a hit up there.
Second turnover forced by the tackling of Jared Warren. He towers over our match official. I do feel, Paul, that if you watching this side, if you were to pick which of the two teams had a warm-up game, I think you probably picked correct. If I'm perfectly honest, there's something about Hammersmith that looks slightly off colour today. Hopefully they'll get that right in the next 20 minutes or so. Well, they'll need to.
Yeah, I think you know, this is Hammersmith's first Challenge Cup game, and you know, Chargers have been doing this now for 5 years. You know, starting the season early, and I think we've come up with you know, having warm-up games just to blow out the cobwebs is what you need. And it can help, you know, it can go the other way, but I think as a club we think it helps, especially going against it's penalty Hammersmith there, but going against clubs such as Broncos Academy, you know, teams that give you a really good run for your money.
Added pressure by Hammersmith Hills Hoists in light of that penalty. Hopefully they can come away with something here. Warren with the hit up. Broomhall almost over the line, just repelled a little by the London Chargers defence. Out to the halfback now. Oh, and again, another loose carry costs Hammersmith dear.
What's the makeup of Hammersmith squad then? I know playing green and gold, you have a lot of Australians. Is there a lot of British guys in there as well, or is it? I know yourself, you're not Australian, so.
No. There's a certain amount of English people. As I say, Lee Harrison's a young man from Coventry. There are a number of other lads in the squad who come from either this country or another. obviously, although the team has a certain Australian leaning, founded by Aussie backpackers in 2009, all's welcome. We've had players from Spain, Scotland, Poland, and as I say, even myself from Birkenhead, that have had a run out for the Hammersmith Hills Hoists. It's important that the club has a certain sense of identity, and the green and gold certainly helps with that. It would always be the case, I would think. Vince Spur, despite wanting to be Australian, is in fact from Lincolnshire. It's important, though, that the club's identity, I feel, stays the same, in that whilst not an exclusively Australian side, we like to think that the atmosphere of the team is very much Australian. You'll know from playing in St Helens, and certainly I'll know from playing in the north of England, that there's a certain amount of pessimism with English rugby league that perhaps doesn't exist in Australian sides.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Always encouraged and being told that you're doing well, I find, when you play with a group of Australians. If you play with a group of Englishmen, you're often told how bad you are.
Yeah, you'll know about it if you knock on in an English team. Speaking of St Helens, Pilkington Rex, my old club, are playing today in the Challenge Cup as well. So
who you got?
They're going up against Wasselden, I think. I don't know, Wealden something. Not a club I'm familiar with, but yeah, good luck to them.
No, good luck to them. My experience of playing rugby league only rests with Hammersmith Hills Hoists and the University of Sheffield. And although there are university sides in the Challenge Cup this year, Loughborough played this morning. The University of Sheffield is not one of them. I think they have played in the Challenge Cup once, but we're talking in the 1970s. And even I wasn't there then. Talking of non-Australian players, and indeed non-English players that play for the Hammersmith Hills Hoists, I can see the person who looks like he's about to take this hit up is indeed Jerry Arthurs, an Irishman from Tralee in County Cork. Learned his ball skills in Gaelic football. There he is again, and
Big hit.
Welcome to rugby league.
Liam Duffy throwing it on him. I'm sure Liam will he'll be watching this later and getting that hit and make himself a little video. Very big hit.
Vince Spur trying to find a way through himself. Referee's given that correctly, I think, as a scrum to Hammersmith Hills Hoist. It was a loose carry this time from a Chargers player.
I've done well defensively there. It looked like Chargers were getting away and to get the ball back.
Hammersmith really needs to get a bit of a move on here. Don't want the game to, well, sure, you do, Paul.
Yeah, I mean,
myself, I don't want the game.
Quite happily blow up.
I wouldn't like to see the game get away from the boys. I do feel that the first half perhaps suffering from rust, and there again, a knock-on in the backfield, hands the ball over to Chargers. Good tackle, Jared Warren.
Eric Sims getting ragged about there a little bit. He's a St Mary's University student, also known as Banana Man.
St Mary's University got a good history in terms of rugby league, in terms of Rugby League, despite being based in the rugby union heartland of Twickenham. Certainly know that they won the, as it was then, Boosa finals when I was at university. Same as I think there's a large rugby league rivalry there with another local university in Brunel. Fourth tackle for Hammersmith Hills Hoist. Get to a kick. Well taken by number 9, who looked like he was playing on the wing.
I think he's doing a bit of both at the minute. I think Chargers winger went off injured, and Eric might be defending out there and attacking at hooker. Like I said, he was fullback in the final last year, so seems like he'll just play wherever.
A man of many talents.
Great feet by the winger to beat first man there.
I noted that some of the other teams that play in the Ladbrokes Challenge Cup first round this year, well, we're supposed to be Aberdeen Warriors. So Scotland represented. Loughborough Students against Bradford Dudley Hill. The Royal Air Force playing against Drylington. Featherstone Lions against Skirlaw. The Royal Navy playing against Normanton Knights. Underbank Rangers against Batley Boys. All St James against Northampton Knights, the University of Hull against Hensington, and the British Army against Milford Marlins, to name but a few. Some names better known than others. Hunslet Warriors, as well as Hunslet Club Park, who play against the Valley Cougars.
Valley Cougars from Wales. Chargers came up against them in the CLS final a couple of years back.
I seem to remember seeing something on Twitter that suggested that game had been surrendered by Valley Cougars on the basis that they had a wedding to go to. Somebody from Hunslet remarked on Twitter that they were all probably playing rugby union, and that's the reason that they couldn't play today. But that is the grassroots of the game that we love. Good run there by Sean Lynch, new boy for the Hammersmith Hills Hoists. Some experience of international rugby himself, I think, in that he turned out for the Philippines. The Filipino national side, which has 2 players, twin brothers, in fact, who play for London Scholars, former Hammersmith Hills Hoist players, the Greenar brothers, Judd and Mike. I don't know whether they're playing in their fixture that follows on after this one.
There'll be an ex-Charger in that fixture in Phil Lyon. Yeah, he's in the squad for Scholars in the next game. Last year, I think he got 42 points in a single game in the first round of the Challenge Cup.
Impressive. Who are you playing?
We played Bridgend, and it finished, without reminding them, 116-0. We needed a new scoreboard here.
Very impressive. I think we've played Bridgend in the same tournament that we ended up playing against Fryston Warriors. We kind of after our league finishes, the national competition that we entered. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Minor accident with a spill of half a cup of tea.
Well, the wind's strong enough to knock the tea over, so it's definitely doing something.
Feel like the wind should have played a bigger part in this game, actually, but given the way that the Chargers dealt with it in the first half and the fact that Hammersmith Hills Hoists are where we are at the present time, it doesn't look like the wind, notwithstanding how vicious it is the determining factor between the two sides. It seems like it's a little bit more clinical, as I say, more of a clinical nature and perhaps a bit of rust by the Hammersmith Hills Hoists-led Chargers to find themselves ahead and the Hammersmith Hills Hoists pointless. Another knock on. Penalty to London Chargers.
2 points, make it 14. I think we'll be going for it.
Well, fans of expansive rugby league won't be happy to see a team that's so far ahead opting to kick for points in a day like this, but we all know that that's what makes prizes, so that shouldn't complain.
I think it's the right call to try and get yourself to 14 up instead of 12 up, make it 3 scores. It's not quite expansive, I guess.
There are rugby union clubs that would boo you for exactly the same thing.
The crowd haven't quite started singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot yet, so we're all right.
No.
Mike Butch is going to take the kick from Wakefield.
Takes it well. So that's a 3-score game.
Penalty goal, the London Chargers, number 7, Mitchell Butler. And that brings the scoreline to London Chargers 14, Hammersmith Hills Hoists 0.
As is always the case in rugby league, you have to earn the ball back. So Hammersmith kick back to London Chargers, who field it well and take that hit up. Then Allen with a fumble in the backfield gives Chargers very good field possession.
Chargers will be hoping to make this count and really put the pressure on Hammersmith for the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Allen will be kicking himself with regards to the way that he's been fielding kicks, it shouldn't not right to have a go at him, of course, because he's been a great stalwart for Hammersmith in the past 6 or 7 years. But though it was his birthday last week, it seems like he's giving the gifts out today. Oh, well, his foot's certainly in touch there, though. The
first knock on from Hammersmith?
Yeah, I think so. It certainly came off a Hammersmith hand. And indeed, oh! Ball's gone to Hammersmith Hills Hoists. Touch judge on this side didn't move, despite that foot on the touchline, but it ends with a Hammersmith scrum. Reality is, Paul, that Chargers don't really need to do very much now. It's up to Hammersmith to chase this game. Hammersmith to get up the other end.
I think so. I think it's up to Hammersmith to come up with something. Chargers have defended very well so far without putting a block on it. That's a good run.
It's a good run by Dave Shute. Now Jared Warren juggling, keeps hold of it.
Now he's dropped.
Penalty. Wind seems to have dropped quite a little bit and the rain has stopped. But Hammersmith find themselves just inside the... or do they even find themselves inside the Chargers half? Just inside. Not a very deep run by Jared Warren there. Obviously got the muscle to wrestle it through, but you'd like to see a little bit more dynamism than that. Lonergan, oh. Casey Martin trying to find a hole himself, using the runners to his advantage. Held up. Jimmy Lonergan gets to the posts. Solid defence by London Chargers. And I think that's the handover.
Looks like the Hammersmith winger's gone into hooker as well, the head guard.
Good defence by Hammersmith. Perhaps more out of annoyance with themselves than anything else. Carries it through.
Another big hit.
Going slightly wide. Yeah. Silly by Spur. Bent his shoulder in. Didn't extend his arm. And unfortunately, in today's game, that's a penalty.
Would you bring the shoulder back, charge back if you could?
I think it's a difficult thing to sustain in a world where we understand the long-term effects of concussion. But at the same time, no rugby league player is ever going to ask for safety measures. It's not the way that we're wired. So, yeah, I'd bring it back. The funniest part of it is, I think, Paul, is it hasn't ever really gone away. Players still do it. They just get, we're not happy to, but they take penalties for it. What would a generation of Polynesian players do without it?
Sonny Will Williams built a career on shoulder charges.
Yes, indeed. Well fielded by Linton Allen, but very well followed up by charges. I think he may have hurt him in the process.
It's Shane Picker, the charges full back, knocking him back over the line.
Hammersmith have to drop it out, which they do.
There we go.
Well, Jared Warren, although he's lost it on the game. Hammersmith realising that they need some invention if this game is the one that they're going to progress from. Jared Warren's hurt himself there. And again, good field position for the Chargers, who've gathered it well. And are now lining up to sustain the assault on Hammersmith's line.
I think Sam charges centre there when he's right in front of Big Jared. I think he had his life flash before his eyes a bit there.
Yeah, it's not the most enviable position on that field. But stopped him, got the ball turned over.
Like my dad used to tell me, you can't tackle to be a speed bump. Hammersmith doing well there to keep Eddie out.
Oh, sadly, BT couldn't keep hold of that one.
I think he had to go for it though. I think he had to go for it.
Yeah, well, this game seems to be slipping away from the Hammersmith Hills Hoists. The concern would be that if you haven't broke the line once by this point, you start to worry whether you're ever going to do it, which is unfortunate, given the pressure that they put on in the first 20, 30 minutes of this game. But the scoring has been very one-sided in the sense of Chargers have got all the points. Hammersmith have none. And here we are with Chargers close to the Hammersmith line again. I think that's potentially going to be a try. And that there might be the thing that seals Hammersmith's exit from their first Challenge Cup season.
Well, I'm not saying anything yet. I wouldn't write anyone off. I think that was Todd Pugh.
Who?
I don't think the announcer's doing very well today here because I'm pretty sure that's 18 because they took a penalty in this half.
Indeed they did. Indeed they did. I remember that I criticised them for it. Sour grapes, I think. Chargers taking their time with this kick, as is of course their right. And that's right, isn't it? 18-0? What is it?
I think it's 20.
Did we not? 18. Did 14 not make it a 3-score game?
Yeah.
And so therefore, that was why they took it.
Did he kick that goal?
No, he did not.
Right, then 18.
18.
I just assumed he would get it.
Well, he took his time, measured it, but that didn't really take him very far. Oh. Hammersmith Hills Hoist trying to exploit the short side again. Fifth and last for Hammersmith. Looking to get to spur for the kick.
Interesting kick.
Really interesting kick. Didn't really have the chase that it needed to be properly effective. Don't know how long's left. Any idea, Paul? If we kicked off at 1. We find ourselves at 20 to 4, or 20 to 3. There can't be long left, I wouldn't have said, in this half.
Imagine maybe 10 to go. This is a
Russell
great ball.
Callaway with space, a lot of space. Not quite the pace though to make it the entire 80. And a poor pass, which is gathered by Jerry Arthurs.
Dave O'Connor showing a pair of heels for a second row to get back there.
And Russell Callaway certainly showed the acceleration to get away from people, but not the pace to go the full length. A man of his age usually dives a car with a roof rack rather than plays on the wing at rugby league. So maybe we can forgive him this time. Ball goes wide. Dan York with the hit up. Ball again loose, and again charges turn it into a big positive. Lenton Allen with the challenge. Good tackle by Nathan Mann, fronting up in the way that a captain should. Again, the ball taken rather flat from the scrum. Rugby League's a game of momentum in many ways. Now, hopefully, Dave Shute can bring a little to Hammersmith Hills Hoists. Dave Shute obviously hurt himself in that exchange. It's limped off the field. Sam Broomhall coming back on for the interchange. Again, a kick to a place where nobody really seemed to be.
Not coming off for him, really.
Again, and that's it. What should have been and what will be go down in the Hammersmith Hills Hoist history books as a day to remember. Unfortunately, on the pitch, turns into a day to forget. Can't say the Chargers didn't deserve it. Certainly they did. Good luck to them in the next round.
Yeah, I think the Chargers will be really happy with that. Very clinical. And the defence, I think, has won the day there. And they've managed to withstand Hammersmith's pressure early in the first half, and it seemed like they had it under control. They'll be happy with that.
I don't know whether it's the experience in the Challenge Cup competition as a whole, or whether it was simply the fact that they'd obviously prepared in a way that was slightly different to Hammersmith Hills Hoists. But as I say, ladies and gentlemen, one team in, unfortunately. Hammersmith Hills Hoists will now go back and try and restart their season in a couple of months' time, when of course they'll look for revenge against Chargers. In the meantime, Chargers will go on into the second round of the Challenge Cup. London will no doubt be represented in any event, and I think it will again be when Scholars and Chargers join the draw. But that's it for now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Cheers, Paul.